The film opens on Christmas night, with neighborhoods glowing in warm holiday light as families decorate their homes. We are introduced to a man named Minnow, who has come to spend the evening at his elder sister's house along with his wife. He is playfully spending time with his nephew, but as the night grows darker, he gently puts the child to sleep, says his goodbyes to his sister, and the couple heads home together. While his wife drives the car through the quiet night, Minnow notices that something seems off about her. Her expression is distant, her mood heavy. He gently asks her what is wrong and whether something is bothering her. She replies with a quiet sadness, telling him that he already knows what she wants. She wants a child. Minnow responds calmly, saying that he wants one too, but that the timing just does not feel right yet. His wife grows frustrated, accusing him of not truly wanting it at all. The two begin to argue inside the moving car, and at that very moment, another vehicle speeds past them recklessly, forcing their car to swerve. Although his wife manages to regain some control, the car drifts into the wrong lane before she can correct the steering. A large truck comes barreling toward them and crashes into the car with tremendous force. The impact flips the vehicle entirely. Minnow survives the accident, but tragically, his wife does not. We now jump forward 1 year in time. Minnow is living alone in a large, quiet house, with only his cat for company. He turns on the news one morning and learns that a dangerous virus has begun spreading rapidly across the country. In response, the government has begun discussing border closures to contain the outbreak and prevent further transmission. The virus, in its first form, turns infected individuals into extremely violent and aggressive beings, not quite like the zombies of fiction, but erratic, hostile and dangerous. They attack and bite others. Though authorities indicate this first variant is at least somewhat under control, people everywhere are debating the origins of the virus on television and across social media. But Minnow, still drowning in grief over the loss of his wife, pays none of it any attention. He does not take precautions. He does not prepare. He simply gets in his car and drives into the city to carry out a simple errand. His wife had purchased a boat before she died, and he has come to sell it. After meeting the buyer, he stops at a store on his way back home. The scene inside is chaotic. People are emptying shelves at a frantic pace, ignoring news broadcasts advising restraint and purchasing only what is necessary. Fear of a potential lockdown is driving people to stockpile food and essentials. Minnow returns home and finally calls his sister, whose name is Ben. She tells him that her husband is in the military, and as a result, their family is being relocated to a safe island facility connected to his service. They have been assigned housing there, and the island will offer safety from the virus. She urges Minnow to come with them, explaining that flights from the airport near him are departing that very night. She tells him they are leaving soon and that he should not wait. Minnow is reluctant and declines at first, but Ben pushes back with real urgency, reminding him that family must stay together in times like these. Moved by her persistence, Minnow agrees to go. The next morning, he packs his bags, loads his cat into a travel box, and heads toward the airport. The roads are already packed with other people trying to do the same, as Minnow sits in slow. Traffic. The radio delivers alarming news. A second variant of the virus has emerged overnight. And like the first, this new strain spreads through cuts and open wounds. Minnow arrives at the airport to find an enormous queue of people trying to purchase tickets to the island. But before he can make any progress, an announcement is made. All flights to the island have been cancelled. Panic breaks out among the crowd. Almost immediately, Ben calls him again. She tells him that the airport is being shut down entirely because of the second variant, and that he must go straight home and stay there. She promises to keep him updated and guide him on what to do next. Within minutes, a full riot erupts inside the airport. Minal grabs his cat and pushes his way out through the chaos, returning to his car. The roads are completely gridlocked. After sitting in traffic for hours with no movement, he makes the decision to leave the car behind entirely and walks home on foot with his cat. By the time he reaches his neighborhood, it is night time. What he sees stops him cold. Soldiers in protective gear have erected a plastic containment tunnel around his neighbor's house, and they are forcibly dragging the neighbor out. The neighbor has been infected with the new variant. Minal goes inside and sleeps. The following morning, Ben calls with more troubling news. She tells him that the government is establishing so-called safe zones, quarantine facilities, where infected and uninfected individuals would be housed and separated. But she warns him that these places are far more dangerous than they sound. Concentrating large numbers of people in one location only increases the risk of transmission. She tells him firmly to stay inside, avoid the safe zones at all costs, and wait for conditions to improve. Minal then begins watching videos online, clips explaining how the virus spreads and how people are attempting to protect themselves from infected individuals. His worry deepens. Then an emergency government alert comes through on his phone, announcing that all markets will close within a few hours and that citizens must make any final purchases immediately. Minal rushes to the nearest store, but it has already been stripped nearly bare. People are grabbing items and fighting over what remains. He manages to collect a few things and makes his way out. Outside, he witnesses an infected man violently attacking a police officer. Minal grabs a metal rod and steps in to help, but the infected man turns his aggression toward him and charges. Just as the situation turns critical, the officer fires a shot and kills the infected individual. Minal moves toward the officer to check on him, but the officer holds up his hand and tells Minal to keep his distance. He has already been infected through a cut. The officer, unwilling to risk harming others, makes the devastating choice to take his own life right there on the street. Minal returns home and transforms it into a fortress. He reinforces the doors with extra locks, metal rods, and thick bolts, determined to keep the outside world from getting in. By evening, all mobile and internet networks go dark. That night, military vehicles arrive in his neighborhood, and soldiers call out over loudspeakers, urging all remaining residents to board a bus headed for the safe zone. Minal turns off every light in his house and hides in silence as soldiers knock on doors and escort his neighbors away. When the vehicle finally disappears down the road, Minal is the only person left on his street. 2 weeks pass. Minal has been entirely alone. He records a video message for Ben, telling her he is managing, but that food has completely run out. When he tries to send it, he realizes the network is still down. He thinks to himself that if the virus does not kill him, starvation will. He arms himself and steps outside to search for food. He moves from house to house, finding nothing. He has wandered far from his own home when he comes across an elderly woman sitting alone in a wheel chair. Her legs do not function, leaving her completely immobile and dependent. He quickly realizes there is no food in her house either, but she tells him she has kept an eye on a few nearby homes where supplies might still remain. Minal checks those houses and, to his relief, finds enough food for both of them. They eat together that evening, genuinely satisfied for the first time in days. The old woman tells him plainly that it would have been smarter to leave with the army. She warns him with dark humor that if the food truly runs out, people will have no choice but to turn on each other. Minnow tells her not to give up hope and sets out again. This time, he finds a more substantial supply of food and brings it back. That night, the two share a warm meal together, and Minnow opens up to her about his wife. He says quietly that in a way, it is almost fortunate she is not here to witness what the world has become. After the evening ends, he returns to his own home, records another message for his sister, and sends it off hoping that when the network eventually returns, it will reach her. Late that night, the walkie-talkie crackles to life with the old woman's voice, telling him to turn on his radio immediately. A government broadcast is transmitting a message to all survivors, informing them that a camping area safe zone is operational and that anyone who arrives there alive will be assisted and transported to Ireland. The old woman is skeptical, warning Menel that gathering people in one place will only accelerate the spread of infection. But Menel points out the reality. Food is nearly gone. They have no choice but to go. When he mentions that he will take her with him and that it is his responsibility, she thanks him. But the next morning, when he arrives at her house ready to leave, he finds her gone. She has taken her own life with sleeping medication overnight. She has left a letter behind. In it, she thanks him for the care he showed her and explains that she could not bear to become a burden. She tells him to go on without her. Minnow leaves with a heavy heart, almost immediately after. Stepping outside, an infected woman attacks him. He pushes her away and, with no other option, shoots her to protect himself, though it pains him deeply. He does not stop. He records one final message for his sister, telling her that the infected have now reached the streets and that he can no longer wait to be rescued. He is going to the safe zone himself. He rides a motorcycle through the jungle since the roads are blocked and infected individuals chase him the entire way. When he finally reaches the camping area, the scene is devastating. Bodies are scattered everywhere. The site has been completely overrun. Everyone who came here either died or became infected. His motorcycle crashes into a body and overturns, sending his cat's travel box flying. The bike will not restart. He picks up the box and runs on foot, with infected people closing in behind him. He sprints to a nearby building, slips through the front entrance, seals it shut, and escapes out the back. There he finds a small ship docked and boards it. The deck is smeared with blood. From inside the cabin comes a faint sound. He opens the door and finds a small baby, infected, barely conscious. Eyes glazed over, Minnow stands frozen. He has made cold decisions before out of necessity, but he cannot bring himself to harm a child. He finds a small rowboat on the ship, lowers it into the water, and paddles away alone. While on the water, he sends another message to Ben, warning her not to go to the safe zone because the situation there is catastrophic. As night falls, he sees the bodies of infected people floating in the water around him. Then a vessel approaches in the darkness. He signals it to stop. The people on board point weapons at him until he convinces them he is not infected. They bring him aboard their larger ship. On deck, he and his cat are given food. The crew consists of 3 men, a pilot, the captain of the ship, and another officer. The pilot offers Minnow a cabin to sleep in. Before turning in, Minnow asks the pilot whether he is the only survivor they have pulled from the water. The pilot confirms that he is the first, looking out the window later. Minnow notices what appears to be a family in the water, reaching toward the ship and calling for help. The next morning, Minnow moves round the ship and quietly asks the pilot about the family he saw the night before. The pilot dismisses him entirely, saying no one came to the ship last night. Something feels wrong. Minnow pushes further, and the pilot finally admits that a family was brought aboard, and that they have been placed in the basement. He warns Minnow not to pry and to focus only on surviving. But Minnow notices other things too. He asks the pilot why he, a trained aviator, is sailing on a ship at all, pointing out that there are likely helicopters and aircraft available in the area that could take them to the island far more efficiently. The pilot snaps at him, telling him to be quiet and stay out of trouble if he wants to stay alive. That night, as Minnow prepares to slip away on his own, he thinks of the family and goes looking for them. He finds them in the basement, hands bound, mouths covered with bandages. He removes their gags and asks where the woman and child are. Before the man can answer, one of the captains on the men appears and levels a gun at Minnow. Then the pilot arrives just in time, overpowers the god, and kills him with a rope. He angrily scolds Minnow for ignoring his warnings. Despite this, when the moment comes, Minnow and the pilot launch a small escape boat and try to flee with the family members. The captain's crew spots them and opens fire. In the chaos, the family member they just freed is shot and killed. The pilot takes a bullet and is badly wounded. Minnow manages to reach the shore and gets the pilot to a hospital, knowing there may be a helicopter on the roof they can use to escape. On the way, Minnow asks about the woman and child from the family. The pilot grimly explains that the captain is a predator, a man who takes advantage of desperate people in the chaos of the outbreak, enslaving survivors and abusing women. Minnow is filled with rage. He says that when this is all over, men like that deserve to face justice for what they have done to people who are already suffering. As they arrive at the hospital entrance, infected people swarm toward them from all directions. Minnow opens fire with a machine gun, cutting through them and forcing a path inside. The hospital is deserted. There are no doctors, no nurses, only blood on the walls and destruction in every corridor. Minnow has never performed surgery in his life and has no medical training, but he must remove the bullet from the pilot's body. While gathering supplies, he is ambushed by an infected man and barely manages to kill him before the noise draws more toward him. He manages to escape back to the pilot. Then, unexpectedly, a nurse appears and leads him to a section of the building still untouched by the infected. She has been sheltering there with a doctor and 3 young children. While Minnow catches his breath, the nurse goes to work and removes the bullet from the pilot herself. She tells Minnow the pilot will recover in time. Minnow tells her about the helicopters and she confirms there are indeed aircraft on the roof. But reaching them means passing through areas heavily populated by infected individuals. While inside the hospital, Minnow walks to the ward where his wife once received treatment after their accident. Standing in that room, he speaks to her absence softly. He tells her he is sorry for not listening, sorry for not understanding what she wanted before it was too late, and sorry for the time he wasted. In that quiet moment, his phone begins buzzing continuously. Messages flood in. The network has come back on. Among them is a video message from Ben. Her face is bright, her voice full of relief. She and her family have made it safely to the island. She says it is beautiful and that they are doing well. Minnow is just about to reply when gunshots ring out somewhere in the building. A group of armed looters have arrived. Searching the hospital for food and supplies, Minnow races downstairs and gathers everyone, telling them they must reach the helicopter immediately before the looters cut them off. They move as a group through the corridors, pushing toward the roof. An infected person lunges from the shadows and bites the doctor before Minnow can react. though he kills the infected man immediately. The damage is done. The doctor knows what it means. She quietly tells the nurse to look after the children and walks herself into the infected wing of the building. Accepting her fate so that she cannot become a danger to the others, the remaining group presses forward to break through a crowd of infected people blocking their path. Minnow gathers barricades and tires and forms a circular barrier around the group, allowing them to push forward slowly. When one of the tires gets stuck and the barricades collide, noisily, a large number of infected come rushing toward them. The barrier holds for a time, but the infected begin climbing over the top, forcing Minnow and the others to fight them off with axes. The numbers are overwhelming. At a critical moment, the nurse opens part of the barricade, shepherds the children through, and sprints with them to the helicopter. The pilot follows moments later. Minnow stays behind alone, holding the infected off until the last possible second. He fights his way through to the helicopter, but when he arrives, the engine will not start. Infected individuals have already jumped the gate and are pressing into the helicopter area. Minnow fights them back with his axe. Then the armed looters arrive as well, forcing their way in with guns drawn. Minnow and the pilot exchange a glance and silently agree on a plan. Minnow smashes open a gate with his axe, releasing a wave of infected directly into the path of the looters. While the looters are overwhelmed and distracted, the pilot finally gets the helicopter engine running. The nurse drops a ladder from the open door, and Minnow grabs hold of it and hauls himself up into the aircraft as it lifts into the sky. Relief washes over him. He calls Ben and tells her with real emotion that he kept his promise. He is on his way. The helicopter descends toward the island, but just before it touches down, Ben's voice cuts through the line with devastating news. She tells him to turn back immediately. The island has been overrun. Infected people are everywhere. It is not safe anymore. The call drops. Minnow does not turn back. He lands the helicopter anyway, because now, more than ever, his sister and her family need someone to come for them. And so, the film ends not with safety, but with purpose. A man who has survived everything, landing in the middle of a new danger, to save the people he still has left.